40-0. A 40 burger. What a humbling experience. A fiasco, really. The Giants want this offense to get on track. They have to figure out whatever is going on the right side of the line of scrimmage. Nick Filato, a Big Blue View here to go through some game tape. To help us, I think this performance can best be summed up by the great Jim Carrey. Jim.
A worthless steaming pile of cow dung, figuratively speaking.
I'll be the first to say that I don't believe the Giants are that bad. A confluence of mistakes cascaded Big Blue into a dark abyss after a promising first drive that we'll go over here in a little bit. But I have to express some serious concern when a divisional rival that has owned this matchup since 2016 comes into MetLife and didn't just beat the Giants, didn't embarrass the Giants, but humiliated New York on their home turf, blew out to blowout, mortifying their fan base after an offseason full of sunshine and effervescence. We haven't seen a Giant fall like that since 1-1 helped take Winterfell from the Boltons. Spoiler alert for Game of Thrones. Skip ahead. We may feel flayed as Giant fans. Pain is tender. We're sensitive. We're looking to point blame in every direction. But sometimes you got to turn the page to week 2 and ensure that you're on track against an Arizona Cardinal team who may pick first in the NFL draft. I don't want to be hyperbolic this early in the season, but the Giants have to win next week in Arizona. Let's get into some plays.
All right, we got my stupid face up in the top left-hand corner. I'll try not to have that get in the way of any of these plays, even though some of these plays we might not want to see. Giants started this game off. They started their 2023 season off with an 11-play, 48-yard drive. That was pretty impressive. Daniel Jones was decisive on when to use his legs. The Giants were running the football very well down the throats of the Dallas Cowboys. And they went away from that a little bit. Next thing you know, they're down 16-0, 19-0, and it was a cascading effect of negativity after that. But if we start with this first drive, which we're going to go over every play on the first drive, and then I'm going to also go over the 2nd and 19 before the Jones pick 6 on 3rd and 19, which we'll also go over, and then the other Daniel Jones interception that was reminiscent of his rookie season. But I want to start with this first drive, 1st and 10. You have a condensed split alignment from the Giants where you have a wide receiver and Darren Waller, who are just off the line of scrimmage with Daniel Bellinger in the backfield. And Daniel Bellinger, along with Saquon Barkley, split back formation where they are going to use Paris Campbell in orbit motion. What does that orbit motion do? It's going to remove Trayvon Diggs from the play side because the Cowboys are crowding the line of scrimmage, rightfully so. The Giants are creating all these extra gaps with this condensed look, so the Cowboys are going to go right up on the line of scrimmage, which they basically did all game because they had no respect for the Giants' passing attack. But this is early on in the game. Trayvon Diggs stays with Paris Campbell, and then you're going to have counter. Just a nice counter run, something the Giants ran often in 2022. You're just going to have Mark Lewinsky, the backside guard, who's going to go and he's going to kick out the end man on the line of scrimmage because you're going to have a double team block, a down block on the 3 technique from Andrew Thomas. Ben Bredesen is going to help him. And then John Michael Schmitz is going to handle this 1 technique. You're going to get the kick out from Mark Lewinsky, and then you're going to have Daniel Bellinger come, and he's going to be the lead blocker for Saquon Barkley, who's going to kind of be delayed. He's going to get the football, and then he's going to hit right off the ass of Andrew Thomas. And that's exactly what happens. And Leighton Vander Esch does a good job fighting through Daniel Bellinger's block here, as you'll see, to make that gap a little bit narrow. Still, a 5-yard gain where you essentially get Saquon Barkley isolated against a safety. It's a good run fit by that safety to ensure that Saquon Barkley doesn't break this much longer. But this is pretty damn good blocking up front. We have Darren Waller just releasing outside to remove number 1 from the play, which is also important because that could be a run defender to that side. And then Waller just basically has to get in his way. Saquon hits that hole hard. Andrew Thomas does a very good job coming off this block. He chips that outside hip and he transitions that 3 technique towards Ben Bredesen. You can see Ben Bredesen just swivel his hips and bring his feet with him around to create the seal. And then Andrew Thomas can go and hit that play side linebacker, the Mike linebacker, really. And that's just good blocking to the front side of the play on a counter run to start this game. You get 5 yards, put your offense into a positive script. The Giants were not in nearly enough. On a side note, I do really appreciate having Daniel Bellinger more in a split back role. Now, you can see if you look closely that he is aligned in a different spot from Saquon Barkley. He's slightly up to give him a better advantage on the angle to come over and execute that lead block. But not having Daniel Bellinger in his normal spot as a sniffer or as an H-back, which is essentially either right to the outside of the tackle or right behind the tackle, it just gives the offense more options and really doesn't tip any tendencies to the Dallas defense. Pretty sure the camera cut out again, whatever. But maybe that was a part of the Giants' game plan, was they were going to use a little bit more split back. You can incorporate option into these types of plays. I'm sure the Giants are going to bring Gary Brightwell or Matt Breida and put him into this Daniel Bellinger spot when it's not an obvious run situation or they don't want to run counter. Hopefully that tendency doesn't end up getting exploited by opposing teams. But I like the split back alignment with someone as versatile and as physical as Daniel Bellinger. So I wanted to at least mention that this is an interesting alignment that we didn't see too much of last season, especially when you incorporate Paris Campbell on the motion to remove Trayvon Diggs onto the next play. And that sets up a slant flat call. And I love this play by Daniel Jones specifically. It's just slant flat. The Giants on this play, they are in an alignment where they're all spread out. You have two receivers and plus splits about 5 yards off the numbers. And then you have to the boundary side a receiver aligned at the top of the numbers, and then a receiver aligned about 6 or 7 yards inside of the numbers to the field side with Saquon Barkley, who's also going to release out. But Jones first looks at Leighton Vander Esch to see if he's going to keep up with Saquon Barkley. Appears like he does, and then he checks both of these players, sees their rotation. Doesn't necessarily look like the slant player is going to contact this apex defender, which is somewhat a part of the design. So Daniel Jones comes off the play and he just uses his legs. And this is Daniel Jones being smart with the football. He's not going to force anything with his hands on this play, but he notices that Micah Parsons twists inside right there and that there's no one to contain him. So one way that you can punish, and then the Giants get 15 yards out of it, one way you can punish these teams who love to run so many twists like the Dallas Cowboys do, you take advantage of the lack of gap integrity, because Micah Parsons is looping in this direction, and then the Cowboys are going to rely on big 97 right here to contain Daniel Jones, a very mobile quarterback. And that's just very difficult to do. Andrew Thomas is going to absorb 97, as we see there. And Daniel Jones looks in that direction, sees Micah Parsons go inside, and just says, I'm going to run away from Micah Parsons, and I know that 97 is not going to be able to contain me. It's man coverage, and no one is covering me. And I have two blockers downfield. So I'm going to take advantage of that. This is a smart, low-key play by Daniel Jones to take what the defense was giving him, and also, hopefully, if the game went in a different direction, slow down the Dallas Cowboys from twisting and penetrating in the manner that they love to do by only sending 4 rushers, which, as we know, due to the end result in the game script, didn't necessarily happen. The camera doesn't like me today, so I'll just put this screenshot up in the top left-hand corner and have it avoid the plays. But back to the Giants. On the third play, they go to a screen, and I like this little screen pass, even though the Giants are terrible at running screen passes. They bring Sterling Shepard in jet motion twice to try to get the Cowboys to shift a little bit, to try to remove some of the Cowboys from the screen side of the play, which we're going to see happen. You can see the penetration right through Evan Neal. Daniel Jones does a very good job getting rid of this football. His clock is immensely accelerated, as it was the entire game, because Evan Neal just gets beat badly inside. And I'm not really sure what Evan Neal is doing with his feet. You're going to have a Dallas Cowboy twist here, where it's just going to be an ET twist. Micah Parsons is going to look to shoot right inside of Evan Neal. Evan Neal is taking a vertical set to cut off the angle of the wide rushing Micah Parsons, but watch Micah Parsons just put that foot in the ground, and it's so commanding and explosive how he explodes off of it, and Evan Neal just doesn't step down to seal off the inside. He kind of brings that foot back a little bit, doesn't initiate contact quick enough, and next thing you know, Micah Parsons is in the backfield. Now, this is a screen pass, so Evan Neal and Mark Lewinsky are both looking to kick out into space and allow the rush to get after Daniel Jones. But you have to still be cognizant of the fact that Daniel Jones needs some time to allow this screen to develop, and it didn't develop fast enough. You could see Mark Lewinsky ends up tackling Saquon Barkley on this play, and I don't even remember the last time the Giants have hit a great half-pack screen. You have a dynamic weapon like Saquon Barkley who you want to get the football into his hands, get him into space, have him make people miss and break tackles, but the Giants have just been very unsuccessful at doing this with Saquon Barkley, and you can see how the pressure both of these guys just get in. But again, I don't want to put too much on that fact because the job of the Giants' offensive line is to allow them to get upfield. That's what Mike Kafka designed this play for. Evan Neal getting beat that badly inside is the one thing that kind of made me, because that wasn't by design. If you look at Evan Neal, he's like, oh crap, man, he's already on Daniel Jones, and it accelerated and blew the entire play up. So that's one thing that I definitely did not like about Evan Neal. There's plenty in this game that I didn't like about Evan Neal because Evan Neal was wildly bad. So that really didn't do anything, and the Giants are right back at 2nd and 10. You get this nice 9-yard rush on a split zone run from the New York Giants. And I just love how the Giants are moving the Dallas Cowboys on this play. You have a stack with Isaiah Hodgins and Darius Slayton. You motion Daniel Bellinger behind Darren Waller. So now you have 2 tight ends, 1 H-back, and then 1 on the line of scrimmage for the Giants. And you're going to just run split zone. Get double teams. We have 3 double teams here for the New York Giants. You bring Daniel Bellinger in motion across the formation to kick out anybody who decides to get upfield if need be. That doesn't necessarily happen for the New York Giants. Just get the football to Saquon Barkley. It's a great block by John Michael Schmitz. We're going to go over that in a little bit. This is one of the reasons why it's so difficult to distinguish between an inside zone and duo, because you have that vertical displacement. You have the double teams, 3 double teams up front. That's duo power without the pull. You always run it towards the tight end side, which the Giants are doing with Darren Waller right here. But you typically have a backside block where it's one-on-one with the backside tackle. That's not happening on the backside. You're not Bob back there, big on big. You also have the center on this play moving towards the front side of the play, climbing up and attacking to get to 33. And you also have Daniel Bellinger coming across. So I believe this is split inside zone. And damn, does John Michael Schmitz and Mark Lewinsky do an excellent job driving this Dallas defender off the football. And then watch how John Michael Schmitz gets to that outside shoulder. They vertically displace him. They get him off the line of scrimmage. And now John Michael Schmitz is just going to peel off the combo block and then pick up this Dallas safety. And in doing so, eliminates him from the play. And Saquon Barkley is able to pick up 9 yards. That is a commanding rush where the Giants are just winning in the trenches against Dallas. Obviously, we did not see this nearly enough, but I don't know why the Giants strayed so far away from running the football. Now, they started their second drive after the blocked field goal with an RPO that you could argue the Giants and Daniel Jones maybe should have handed the football off. So the Giants were calling some run plays, but they were moving the football when they could run the football. But when you fall down that fast, you can't really run because you're not going to catch up. And that's one reason why the game script went against it. I do hate seeing Evan Neal just get tossed aside by DeMarcus Lawrence. Now, Evan Neal is blocking DeMarcus Lawrence, and he's driving. But if we look, he doesn't appear to have any control. DeMarcus Lawrence is getting driven a little bit back. There's a little double team, but really Darren Waller's climbing up to the second level, and he's locating this player. So it's not even a true double team. But if you watch how DeMarcus Lawrence just shoots his hands inside, gets a grasp on Evan Neal, DeMarcus Lawrence has full control of Evan Neal. Evan Neal's chest get well over his toes. He's never playing within the framework of his body. He just gets tossed aside like a rag doll. You hate to see that. And that was one of the issues he had at Alabama that we discussed. We thought it was a little bit correctable, but this lack of leverage and this lack of ability to play within the confines of his own framework to keep everything balanced and in cohesion, it's a real problem. And you can see how DeMarcus Lawrence just resinks his center of gravity, something Neal does not do often, and is able to reestablish himself as the player who's going to win the leverage battle. And then he just uses pure power and strength to toss Evan Neal to the ground. Great run by the Giants, but still not necessarily a great play from Evan Neal. Now we have a 3rd and 1, and I love this because this is a T formation from the New York Giants. We have not seen this yet. It's a T formation, and we also have Matt Parrott as a big tight end, a big offensive line in this play. So we have Matt Parrott. He's right next to Evan Neal, and the Giants are just going to hand the football off to Saquon Barkley with 2 lead blockers in Gary Brightwell and Daniel Bellinger, and they're going to get the first down. And I like the creativity of this play. I like the fact that they brought everybody in tight. It's a 3rd and 1, and Dallas is going to align with essentially 4 players inside of the guard box, not even just the tackle box. All 4 of these players are inside of the tackles. Jones is just going to hand this football off. Great block by Mark Lewinsky. You have Gary Brightwell help out Evan Neal and Matt Parrott Both of those Dallas Cowboys defenders end up going outside, and then it's just on Daniel Bellinger to locate the linebacker, that play side linebacker. He does a great job, and this run could have been a lot longer if the safety doesn't track Saquon Barkley. Now, it's a very good play by the Dallas safety. I love this play design, and I love this play call. It's creative. It reminds me of playing high school football using a T-freaking formation, and it was good blocking up front. Again, it's crazy that the Giants had this much success running the football, yet they were absolutely embarrassed throughout the rest of the game. It's just wild how game script can really go against you like that. Giants pick up the first down, and now they go into a split back formation with Matt Breida and Paris Campbell. Absolutely love this play design. I know the Giants sucked against the Cowboys, but there were elements of the offense that I'm looking forward to flourishing in a more advantageous game script and against a lesser opponent. That's a conversation for another day, but you have 12 personnel, double Y set with both the tight ends on this side. The Giants are going to run GT counter. GT counter, you pull backside guard, you pull the backside tackle, and I also love how they use another orbit type of motion from Paris Campbell to run out this way to extend this player, and Daniel Jones is tasked to read homeboy right here. And this is a play with a lot of options built into it. It's one of the reasons why I love this play so much. Let's get into it real quick and see how it breaks down. Apex defender expands, GT counter, both guard and tackle pull, hand up right up the gut to Matt Breida for a 6-yard gain. Nicely designed run by the Giants, has several options. You can see Daniel Jones, his eyes go directly to this defender. He's reading that defender. What is that defender doing? That defender stays put. Let's just say that defender crashes down the line of scrimmage and he replaces both of the pullers. If that does happen, then Daniel Jones can do what Daniel Jones does and just roll out to the side, and he can either take it and run, or he could pass a flare route to him, and that's all going to be dictated by what this defender is doing over here. If this defender decides to stay put on Daniel Jones, then he will. But if he stays with Paris Campbell, then Daniel Jones can just run the football. And what other defender is going to get out to Daniel Jones if this player was undisciplined? It's one of the best things the Dallas Cowboys did, was they were very disciplined with how they defended Daniel Jones. And you have to be, because Daniel Jones will make you pay with his legs. He's done it several times. And that's an excellent run by Matt Breida, a good block by Evan Neal and Mark Lewinsky. You're not going to hear me say that often. We also have John Michael Schmitz with the down block against this 2-eye technique, kind of like a 2-tech. Kick out block, lead block by Andrew Thomas. Matt Breida runs right into the arms of Leighton Vander Esch, but a very well blocked up play, and Matt Breida has to get skinny through this hole. That's not a lot of space for Matt Breida. So you got to tip your cap to Matt Breida on this play. Also like the blocking downfield with Lawrence Cager and Daniel Bellinger taking out those two defensive backs. So a well blocked up play to set up a 2nd and 4 where the Giants are going to come out in pistol. This is something that we discussed a lot heading into this season, because we saw this on that 10-play, 75-yard drive against the Carolina Panthers in preseason. The Giants operating in pistol. They didn't use pistol all that much last year, and you can do a lot of creative things out of pistol. And I love this play because it's the same play to open that Carolina game. The Giants motion Darren Waller across the formation, and he's going to go directly behind Darius Slayton, who's going to open up wide to take Stephon Gilmore, and then you're going to have Darren Waller, who is going to be reading this defender. So if this defender decides to roll out and go wide, Darren Waller is going to quickly break over the middle of the field. But if that defender stays inside, Waller can possibly go underneath. But Waller doesn't necessarily do that. Waller's very patient on this play, and I feel like Waller had a pretty good game, all things considered. Waller allows Darius Slayton to remove Stephon Gilmore, and then he gets squared up against one, and watch this little jab step by Darren Waller to the outside. That quick little step, that's going to get this defender to bring his feet right here. Watch, boop. And now where is that defender's hips to guard the inside? The defender, maybe unknowingly, got a little bit too aggressive and went after Waller to the outside, and that's also aided by the fact that Daniel Jones is starting to roll in this direction. So now this defender is looking at Daniel Jones, and he's like, oh shit, man, I might need to execute some run support. That allows Darren Waller to break over the middle of the field. He's open, but Daniel Jones doesn't need to throw the football because there's nothing but green grass. When you play a team that runs a lot of man coverage, there's going to be a lot of opportunity for you to use your legs as a quarterback. Just love the route combination. Motion to stack, use Darius Slayton to act as a shield for you, and then read the defender and run a route to the inside. Good job by Waller. well schemed up play by Mike Kafka for their opening script. And we'll see it from this perspective as well. Motion. Daniel Jones sees Leighton Vander Esch blitz that A gap. And he knows the pressure might be getting into him. Just one other reason for him to evade. He's got a 5-man rush with a twist with Leighton Vander Esch coming in. Good job by Daniel Jones to outrun number 54 and pick up a first down. Another pistol play, 12 personnel. Jalen Hyatt in jet motion. And I really love that element. It's a lot of eye candy for Dallas to contend with. And this might have broken for a touchdown if Saquon Barkley could spin out of this one tackle. Very nice play by number 30. And this ultimately gets blown up. But you pull Ben Bredesen and Daniel Bellinger. This is another counter run where the backside guard is going to pull. Giants run this out of pistol. It's more difficult for the defense to really see where the running back is going. But you pull the backside guard, you pull the sniffer, but Daniel Bellinger gets picked off. Because this is a tough task for John Michael Schmitz to cover ground from his center spot all the way to here. And you could see how that player, that defender, gets some penetration, picks off Daniel Bellinger, and now Saquon Barkley doesn't have a lead blocker off the kick out. And good job by Saquon Barkley to realize that this defender is unblocked. So he tries to cut back and spin out of it. Ultimately, it doesn't work. Kind of a blown up, dead play to set up 2nd down and 10, where Daniel Jones is going to use his legs once again to pick up 8 yards and put the Giants into a good situation on 3rd down. And this is just shotgun 12 personnel. You got another double Y set with both tight ends to the bottom of the screen, which is the boundary side. Jones is going to catch the snap. He sees the rush and he sees the B gap part. And what does Daniel Jones do? Very often, whenever the B gap comes open, he doesn't love his first read, he takes what the defense gives him. And I'm not faulting him for that. He might have been able to find Paris Campbell here. He sees the pressure, and he just takes what's there. He sees how the linebacker expanded with the running back, knowing he's going to have one less defender to worry about. Daniel Jones, baby, just use your legs and pick up what you can get. A lot of green grass in front of him, and you'll see that from the end zone angle. So when Dallas wants to send the pressure towards you, and if there's any opening to find a clear path into the 2nd level, take it. Daniel Jones does it, sets the Giants up in a 3rd and 2 situation.
This is where it all goes downhill early in the game. Started with an oopsie in the false start by Andrew Thomas. That may have been an overcorrection from the Chiefs game where Juwan Taylor just kept timing the snap up. I think the NFL officials were on top of it. There's a lot of talk on Twitter, offensive and defensive line. Twitter were attacking each other. J.J. Watt weighed in. It was a whole thing. But that oopsie probably cost the Giants a touchdown, which we'll see in a little bit. Then the oopsie turned into a drive-killing mistake with the bad snap from John Michael Schmitz, which eventually led to the blocked field goal for a touchdown. That can best be described as a catastrophe. When oopsies turn into drive-killing mistakes that result in a catastrophe, you're screwed, especially against a team like Dallas, who wreaks havoc when they can pin their ears back and rush. The oopsie was the impetus to one of the more catastrophic losses in franchise history. Let's roll the tape.
And here is the oopsies, the false start by Andrew Thomas. This would have been a touchdown to Darren Waller had this not happened. I love the play design against a heavy man coverage team where the Giants are going to use the number 3 on a drag, and that's going to get this defender right here away from the area where the Giants are looking to target, with Darren Waller off of a clear out by Darius Slayton, who's going to run through the outside shoulder of Stephon Gilmore. The defender responsible for Darren Waller is going to be this player right here. If Dallas decides not to pass these defenders off, homeboy right here is going to attach to Paris Campbell, not going to pass him off to linebackers, doesn't want that kind of mismatch in the red zone, and you can see how this play manifests. Darren Waller's wide open. No one is going to be able to cover him. Yes, you have Leighton Vander Esch who could possibly work underneath. Daniel Jones just deliver a nice strike right to Darren Waller. That's exactly where he's looking off the clear out from Darius Slayton. Unfortunately, the false start was called. It was really close, but this would have been a touchdown. The Giants were really efficient last year in the red zone. And it's going to set up this pretty bad play by John Michael Schmitz. Poor snap. Daniel Jones ends up getting sacked. And that puts the Giants into a position where their field goal was blocked. And you'll see the snap. It's upsetting because the Giants had such a promising drive, and you could just see how these cascading negative plays end up affecting this team. The Giants run a simple smash concept to the boundary side on the 2nd and 19. This is the play before the 3rd and 19 pick six by the Dallas Cowboys that hit Saquon Barkley and popped into the air. Look, Saquon Barkley deserves blame. Anytime a receiver gets hit with the football in the hands, they should catch it. That's the receiver's rules. But more blame deserves to be thrown on Daniel Jones for that play than Saquon Barkley, and I'm about to go through why. Defenses do not respect the Giants throwing toward the sideline from the field side. Now let me bring up the play design for the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys are going to be playing Tampa 2 trap with Trayvon Diggs to the field, who is going to jump the number 2 receiver and has his eyes inward, which you're about to see. I've also seen this in Sabanese referred to as the cut technique, but Tampa 2 trap on the number 2 is exactly what happens. Now let's walk through the play and why this is an issue. Now, we're going to see that more on the 3rd and 19, but I want to pay attention to Trayvon Diggs at the top of the screen. Look at what he does. This is an inside release, so he's just going to pass that inside release off to the safety. There's a lot of match type of principles on this play. You'll see Stephon Gilmore. He's going to pass off the smash with the number 12, Darren Waller, running in, and he's going to sink to the corner. Just know that a lot of concepts, smash concepts, that inner receiver, the number 2, is going to run a corner route. Stephon Gilmore does a good job sinking underneath that. I think Daniel Jones wanted to go there, and Daniel Jones sees Darren Waller open. He doesn't pull the trigger on this for some reason, and I know that there are Cowboys defenders in zone, but Daniel Jones doesn't pull the trigger. He just decides to run, ultimately ends up throwing the football away. But pay attention to the leverage of Trayvon Diggs. His eyes are flashing to the 2. He doesn't even care about the 1. He's going to pass him off. Eyes are flashing to the 2. This is the same exact technique that they used last year against Daniel Jones in a similar situation, and it's the same exact technique that they're going to use on 3rd and 19. The Cowboys want Daniel Jones to throw to the flat. They do not respect the Giants, specifically when they're throwing from the field. And what I mean by field is that far hash. You see how he's on this far hash? Defensive coordinators, they give the Giants this area, and it's upsetting because there's just a lack of respect. They give this area whenever they run cover 2, and they know that they can get away with playing an aggressive trap coverage with this flat defender because Daniel Jones, and he just doesn't take this hole shot very often, which is unfortunate because there is a ton of space, as we're about to see, for a throw into that hole shot. So let's watch the play. You're going to see this is an outside release. Diggs just turns his hip right to Saquon Barkley. See Saquon Barkley coming into the flat. Jones throws it, pops the ball up in the air, and that's a pick 6. You can't put your receivers into that type of situation. People don't like to hear that type of criticism. I'm sure Daniel Jones will be the first to admit that he shouldn't have made this throw and put Saquon into this position. He's looking to his right initially. It looks like he's checking to see what the safeties are doing. He sees Leighton Vander Esch dropping to depth. It's going to be a Tampa 2 look, the same look he just received, but he just wasn't aware of the fact that they're going to play trap on that other end. Trayvon Diggs wants Daniel Jones to throw this football. And you can see how much space Isaiah Hodgins has up the sideline and how far this player, the safety, is going to have to cover to get down there. He's still inside the numbers now. A bullet pass would get there. I know it's a lot of ground to cover, but throwing the football on a check down right into the trapped player results in that. Yes, you want Saquon Barkley to catch it, but that's a tough position for Saquon Barkley to be in, and it's not like Daniel Jones is a terrible quarterback for making that play, but these are mistakes that we saw Daniel Jones make last season as well. So I want to just bring them up and say it's something that we need to see him improve on, the quick processing of that. And here's the other interception. This is just him regressing back to his rookie season, where he's trying to do too much. The Giants are down big at this point. But Mike Kafka put Saquon Barkley into a position of success by motioning him into another stack. These motions into stack, they give these Giants receivers free releases, and that's exactly what happens because watch how open Saquon Barkley is. And Daniel Jones, I get it. He thinks he's going to use his legs. He thinks he's going to roll out into this direction. But Saquon Barkley, the ball needs to be out right now because the defender who was tasked to guard Saquon Barkley is right here, getting picked by the receiver who was on the line of scrimmage. The exact design of the play, this defender's hips are pointing in this direction. So how is he going to get out of Saquon Barkley? Ball needs to come out right here. Daniel Jones doesn't throw it. And he decides to tuck it and run and then throw an interception. He expected Darren Waller to undercut that ball. He expected Darren Waller to keep running. You'll see that a little bit better on the end zone angle. But this is a really bad play by Daniel Jones. You need to see more from him. You're going to see how wide open. Look how wide open Saquon Barkley is. Ball needs to be out. He just got very greedy. There was no reason for that type of hesitation. He needs to be more decisive in those situations. And I understand what Daniel Jones is doing, because Dallas is going to twist again. And once this end man on the line of scrimmage decides to go inside, it's the same thing we were talking about a little bit before. It's going to be a bigger defender in contain, and Daniel Jones can take advantage of the Cowboys' lack of containment there. Even though it's to the boundary side, Daniel Jones still has a lot of space to operate, but when you have a receiver that open, you know that's the primary read, and that's exactly where the football is supposed to go. And everything that the coaching staff schemed up worked out here, and Daniel Jones just didn't pull the trigger. It's also easier said than done when you have Micah Parsons, who beats John Michael Schmitz very badly, and Daniel Jones also does a solid job feeling that pressure. But he can feel that pressure, know that he has to move off of the spot and change his launch point, and still deliver the football to his wide open receiver. All of those things can exist. And you can see how he believed Darren Waller was going to continue running down this way. Darren Waller stopped his rush, and it was just a very careless act by Daniel Jones. Like, Daniel Jones, he's not the first person, the primary person to blame for this loss. The guy really did not have any time whatsoever, but he still left some plays out on the field.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning into this video. I expect the Giants to get back on track after being outclassed, subdued, really, by Dallas. It was eye-opening, ugly, but also telling. Let's hope the team can turn the page and take care of business this week. For Big Blue, I'm Nick Filato, signing off.